So then we are back with more understandings from the Renewed Covenant from the Aramaic English translation of the Word. These translations from the original manuscripts of the Hebrews of old from the time of the prophets. We must understand then how to read these manuscripts so we understand then the heavenly plan. However, understanding from the viewpoint of the Gentiles, then we must understand it from the outside of the holy cities. As we understand, these documents, referring then to the revelation, gives you the understanding from heaven. We Gentiles, we don't have the understandings from heaven. We have the understandings from outside of the holy cities. So at some point when you begin to read, you have to localize yourself where you should position yourself when you are reading the scripture. As we understand these days, there is a political situation going on and elections coming. So then we should be aware of what China is for the future. Because from the viewpoint of the 8th chapter, where then the third part of the ships are located at, you find there is a vast majority of the trade of the world you find around China. So that's your indicator. We understand that we have come out of the time of the deceit, because we are then during the time of Metetiah, the 24th chapter, where then after 6009 or 2009 comes the time of the truth, return to the truth, and then the reduction of time from the 2000 years the Messiah spent with the Samaritans. So then he spent time with the Samaritans around 4031. The Messiah was born in 3999. So then from 4031, 2000 years later, is 6031. However, the time is being reduced, and we don't know for how long it's going to be reduced. But we have an idea that the cities, as the Messiah told his people, go around the world and form holy cities. We understand these cities are returning. And the very first holy city is going to be in the Congo. Read the scripture. What does it say? Speaks then Yahweh tabernacling amongst the fierce, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, in the land of Cush. Today is Congo. And interestingly enough, then, our economy then is making a turn. In rather than having a stupid fight against the manufacturing of China, we can't defeat China. We can't go over their manufacturing, because the cheap manufacturing, there is no country on this planet that can beat them. However, the only recourse is having then high technological equipment. Alternative technologies, high technologies. For those, you have to have rare minerals, rare materials. So then you begin to link up the plan of heaven, and then we can join the plan and begin to rebuild. Because the only situation going on in Africa is Yahweh himself giving directives from his holy city. There is no person on this earth that can turn around Africa. It is as it is for a reason. So when you read then Yeshayahu 1:8, then you find the word in Hebrew tabernacling is the action of then doing the tabernacle. You are tabernacle and then continuing tabernacling. Read it for yourself. You understand how to read English? So he speaks then a city being built amongst the fierce and tabernacling with them. As our nation then becomes more aware of the market, and we understand we can't fight against the manufacturer of China. In terms of the cheap products, we can't beat them. But as we invest then in high technological equipment, then we order rare materials from Congo. So then we are then not only receiving directives from Congo and then receiving also rare materials. So then it's starting making more sense. And from there, then other cities are going to be built. So in terms of the nations trying to go back to the junkies, forget it. It won't. Because this time is the time of rebuilding. They can't return anymore to those junkies because there is already a set situation for the future. They can't deny themselves and try to stick their head in the dirt as an ostrich, thinking they can change then the plan. They can't change the plan. What nation on this earth can compete with the manufacturing of China? They have to be realistic. The more countries emerging, the more China is going to have their products sold because it's inexpensive. And no nation has the capability, authority of then halting their ships from the oceans. Nobody's going to do this. Not in these technological days we are living in. A person can easily have a telephone and then can simply record the event and then load in YouTube and goes around the world. So then we understand what Daniel said. Knowledge shall increase. Technology would increase. So nations coming together in return to the junkies? No, it won't work. The only viable solution is then simply acknowledge that the Chinese, they are going to lead the world's market. And the faster the nations then they understand their trade system, computerized system, the best they are ahead. So then we already have news from the Middle East, the destruction and butchery in Syria, lots of people then going to Turkey, and many others coming, and then winter is coming, and then other people going to other countries going to overwhelm those countries. And then Syria, when they return to their country after the war, they have to do trade. They're going to resort to China. Because international deals and programs are nearly exhausted. But then we must be in line with the scripture. One way or the other must be in line with it. The time of the junkies are done away with. They are not going to return to the time of deceit, at least not for a great while. Not until after then the atomic blast. And we know it's coming. But then this is much later. At the moment we should do trade and rebuild. But the nations, they always get tempted in trying to make their future their own ways. But they can't do their own ways. There is already a set plan, and it is emotion. Predicted more than a couple thousand years ago. So then the nations, the best for them is having then their countries lined up with China's computerized system. Then the rest of Revelation later takes place then as the nations experience, and then after the blast, where a third of the earth is going to be destroyed. And then we understand regarding the third part of the ships and then the oceans is giving you a clue. First, there is the change of the temperature. Then you find many areas of the desert where there are lots of petroleum, rigs and petroleum stations. Those are going to be burst. The destruction of the oceans comes from the oil in the ocean. It's the only chemical that can destroy a third part of the waters. Read the scripture. If you don't understand, find somebody that knows it. It is coming. And then later you find in the blast, the atomic blast. Then you begin to understand the layers of those they neatly put together. And there is a time set limit for these because the earth can't take it anymore. Climate is changing, then waters are rising. And then a lot of people, they're going to remain oblivious. Because then the Messiah said many people are going to and fro. And then the time comes and they're going to be caught as during the time of Noah. That's why they always have to have a person talking, doing precisely what Noah was doing. He was informing the people, but they were laughing at him until the Vesuvius came. They were inundated, under the water. So they can try as much as they want. As Israel tried when the prophets would come and speak against them, they tried. It didn't work. So the best is maintaining the pace as previously and then observing the times and the seasons, because people will start learning how to read the scripture. The revelation is not that bad as many people then were thinking previously. Now they understand how to read it. They don't have to be bound to make sure then the third chapter then and after the fourth and the fifth they have to be in order. They are not in order. And China is coming with their system. There is no retrieving from. They are coming straight through the entire nations of the world. They are going to do trade. And it's their system or no system. Try to understand, there is not a nation in this planet able to take on Chinese manufacturing. The only solution is doing what the president was then proposing. Making sure then we would be investing in new technologies so then we can get around of this cheap manufacturing. To do this, we have to have rare minerals, rare materials. Where we find? In Congo. Is not the place where then beyond the rivers of Ethiopia over there in the land of Cush, that Yahweh would be tabernacling amongst the fears? Gives you the time of the rebuilding. So then it's going to be the first city, and then the other city, and then the other city, and the other city. They're going to start rebuilding. That's from heaven. And then in terms of the secular, we are during the time of the rulership of the Gentiles, secularly speaking. So it fits perfectly. So the powers that used to be at work in the past, they no longer work. As long as you have the understanding of the scripture, you know how to read it, you understand where you stand at. Because the old system is done away with. For a long time. This partnership with the Germany in Panama, it's not going to work. They made a stupid out of themselves. That's what they did. Does not a person understand how to evaluate? Number those countries, 20 plus countries of the Euro, they are in crisis. Why would you want to be involved with the Eurozone in crisis? You have to be stupid. If you are dealing with a country only separated from the crisis, then you would be smart. Because doing trade with Germany, as long as they are not part of the Euro, then it's fine. But they can't get out of it. It has to be dismantled first. Otherwise, the other countries, they're going to drag those that are in charge down. Because they have to maintain loyalty of what they signed themselves for. And then the countries without much, they're going to start demanding because they are part of the system. Do you think the Greco country over there, and in Portugal and in Spain, they have to start demanding? Those that are not part of the Eurozone, then obviously not. But those who are in bad shape, they have to start demanding because it's their only chance of get out of trouble. And then the other countries, they have to bail them out. They have signed up themselves for it. They have to maintain loyalty. Now, if they don't want to be loyal to what they did, then it has to be dismantled. So the Chinese, they are waiting for a couple of situations. Simply waiting for us to get ruined if we make the wrong move. And then also Europe. Europe is breaking. So when the entire world, nearly half of it then is busted, then the Chinese, they come in, oh, would you like some price rebuild? So why then the nations should stick their necks, so to speak, and then be in that danger, in harm's way? We have to dismantle the Eurozone, finish up with this crazy junkie, and then each country his own, they have to make a deal with China. If they're going to try to do the otherwise, they're going to get busted at the end, because then the Chinese is coming anyway. They have the strongest economy on the planet. And the more countries going broke, the more the Chinese makes. It's an undefeatable plan. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.